Very good. Welcome, everybody. I'd like to call a regular scheduled meeting for the El Dorado Irrigation District to order. Roll call, please, Jen.
Directors Dwyer, Veerkamp, Anzini, and Day present. Director Osborne absent. General Manager Abercrombie, General Counsel Polson, and Board Clerk Sullivan present.
All right, I'd like to have Director Dwyer, if we would please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you very much. It's my honor. Ready? Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pat. All right, we will move to adopting the agenda.
So moved.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second? All right, any public comment? Anybody online wishing to comment?
This is the period for the public comment on the adoption of today's agenda, moved by Director Day and seconded by Director Dwyer. Members of the public would like to address the board. Please refer to the detailed instruction on page 2 of today's agenda. President Veerkamp, it does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to speak on the adoption of the agenda. I believe we're ready for the vote.
All right, please vote.
Division 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye, motion carries.
All right, very good. Communications, General Manager, Employee.
Actually, can we skip to the public comment
Yes.
and then, proceed with pulling the
Okay.
item forward due to time?
Okay, sure. So please, public comment. Any public wishing to comment on anything not on the agenda?
If members of the public would like to address the board at any public comment period during this meeting, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. This is the time for public comment on any items not appearing on today's agenda. President Veerkamp, there does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to speak, and I apologize. To be clear, staff has requested, due to time constraints, that if the president is agreeable, that we adopt the agenda, do the public comment, and move action item number 6 to the front of the meeting.
Yes, I'm fine with that. Board? Good with that? Okay. All right, so let's just go right straight to action item number 6. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, President Veerkamp, Board Directors, Jamie Bandy, Director of Finance, here this morning with our cost of service analysis contract award. So just some previous board action. April 2020, the board adopted the results of the 2020 cost of service analysis, as well as approved the rate increases that were set forth in the 2020 Proposition 218 notice. Last November, the board adopted the 2023 to 2027 capital improvement plan, subject to available funding. Subsequently, in December, board adopted the 2023 to 2024 operating budget, as well as the 2023 to 2027 financial plan, both subject to board approval of a cost of service study this year. Then most recently, the board did receive an overview of the cost of service analysis process as well as the requirements last January. Okay, today, summary of issue, we are looking at developing a cost-based and equitable rates for our water, wastewater, and recycled water utilities that does require an updated cost of service analysis. Next slide. So just a little background discussion. The district is going to be conducting a cost of service analysis. Anytime we consider increases to our utility rates, there are requirements that were established by Proposition 218 that must be followed. Additionally, the process for developing these rates does state that we need to meet but not exceed the cost required to provide those utility services. So the district issued a request for proposals for the cost of service analysis. Within the proposal, we were seeking a consultant basically to review any of our relevant background documents, which would include our operating budget, our financial plan, the CIP, any master plan documents. Additionally, they would be asked to incorporate the district's rate setting policy principles, establish revenue requirements, as well as remaining consistent with industry practices. So recommending rates over a 5-year period that are consistent with the American Water Works Association. And then finally, the consultant would be asked to present a final cost of service analysis report. So the district received 3 proposals in response to the RFP. Listed here, we received proposals from Raftellus, NBS, and Carollo Engineers. Raftellus did submit the lowest bid with $83,777. NBS, their proposal was for $115,750,000, and Carollo finally came in with $159,532. So staff is recommending the board award a contract to NBS this morning. While they weren't the lowest cost, they do represent the best value for the district. NBS proposed approximately 40% more labor hours than Raftellus did, which the district feels is necessary for a thorough and comprehensive analysis of our rate structure as well as the customer classes, also within a condensed timeline that we're looking at. The proposed project manager for NBS also served as our project manager in the 2010 cost of service analysis, as well as really the best qualified staff who also have relevant prior experience with EID. This is also important, as I said, just looking at the documents that they're going to be reviewing as well as the condensed timeline. It would really provide key cost and time efficiencies. NBS also has an excellent track record of successful completion with other agencies with this kind of study. Next slide, please. This is our cost of service analysis process schedule. This is the same schedule that we looked at last month when we were reviewing the process. Again, it is a very condensed timeline starting in March. It's really important to stick to and comply to the schedule that we have to really allow for sufficient time for both our outreach as well as our public workshops and any feedback that we want to receive from our customers to really provide as many opportunities as we can for the public. Slide, please. As mentioned, public outreach is really important in a process like this. The district will hold public workshops and a rate hearing prior to adoption of any future rate increases. We'll do outreach on social media platforms such as Facebook and Nextdoor app, as well as the district's website, our waterfront newsletter, email subscription, and local print media. So board options, option 1 is to award a contract to NBS Government Finance Group in the not to exceed amount of $115,750 for conducting a cost of service analysis. Option 2, take other action as directed by the board. Option 3, take no action. And staff is recommending option 1.
I'll move option 1
I will second.
with a comment and question. Actually, do we have any experience with Raftellus at all?
I don't
Not to my knowledge.
Okay.
Other districts have used them, but not, we have not.
Okay, thanks. And if you take their bid and multiply it by a 40% increase, it's pretty much level with the level of effort that NBS is proposing. And I think it's really important that we make maximum effort to do the outreach and public understanding, and we shouldn't shortchange that in the process. So move option one.
All right, I seconded it. Other discussion, questions? Yes, Lori, please.
I have some concerns about the cost. And granted, it's 40% more labor, but it's really important that we show our ratepayers that we're watching our dollars. And considering the fact that we are paying more for this particular cost analysis, that doesn't send the right message. The other part is I would really like to know more about why we're going the second bid up, because normally we're supposed to take the lowest bid. So can you tell me verbally, not just the labor, but what was the significant difference that we chose them?
Yeah, so in addition to the labor hours, but what that really equates to is that Raftelis does not have as the familiarity with the district that NBS already has. To the point Director Dwyer was also making is that the district believes that more time is required to be able to understand our comprehensive rate structure, as well as those customer classes, to really be able to provide a comprehensive study. If they are already needing more time to become familiar with us, the hours that they proposed really don't seem like they would be adequate to do that comprehensive and thorough analysis of our rates.
So I want to ask staff another question. If I remember rightly, right after I got on the board, we did a cost analysis study. Didn't we hire somebody to do that, or did the staff do that?
Which year was that? Time flies.
2020.
It was just an update.
It was an
just the
update by
update.
staff.
Okay.
Wasn't a full study.
All right, so it wasn't full study. That answers that question. Okay, thank you.
I think the other point, there was a lot of Zoom hours included in Raftelis as opposed to in-person hours, and I think it's important to have face-to-face, especially with the board. That's the other thing that I prefer.
There'll be
with
more
NBS.
hands-on with the board?
Yeah, so NBS proposed all in-person meetings, which I think is important not only here for the board, but also with the public, where Raftelis did propose Zoom meetings. They are not located locally, and so they were proposing that they would participate via Zoom for any of the meetings, public as well as board meetings.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Yeah, Director Day, please.
Pat, did you
Oh,
want
I'm sorry, Pat.
Yeah, I just, in my simple mind, this is really a mathematical exercise. We, as a board, have approved the capital expenditure budget. We, as a board, have approved the operating budget. And so you took the number of services that we have, divide that into the cost, and there's the rates required without non-rate revenue to operate our system. I think the important part of this, so the actual technical part is, in my mind, fairly easy. The real challenge is doing the public outreach, reaching out as much as we can in person, as we did a few years back when we had meetings at, I think it was Cameron Park.
We had one meeting
Yeah.
at Cameron Park, and then we had to do a Zoom meeting.
Right, and I think they're proposing 2 or 3 public outreach meetings, and I think that's really important. So I don't think we're shortchanging the public. I think we're spending money to make sure that our ratepayers are fully informed and participate.
Director Day, please.
Yeah, thank you. I have several problems with this. I find it's somewhat ironic, maybe a contradiction, that NBS, which has Mr. Klumpner, who is, I believe, worked for the board, helped with the last full cost of service study back in 2010, and we're touting him, he's being touted by staff because they are so familiar with everything. And yet they want more hours, and they want to charge more. They should be charging less and being more efficient with fewer hours. It's a contradiction. It doesn't make sense. The other thing is that, like we do with our auditor, like we do with outside legal counsel, we hire outside professional services for their unique perspective and objectivity. This is an insider deal, someone who's very, very familiar, and that's a problem, too familiar. There's not going to be any fresh perspective, which was touted earlier when we were talking about this in previous meetings. And I think we're violating a lot of our principles. So I move that we accept the Raftellus bid, that we add $20,000 for staff to negotiate with them for additional hours and additional in-person meetings up to an amount not to exceed $103,777. It'd still be 10% less, and we get the genuine fresh perspective and not the insider deal. So that's my motion.
I'll second that.
All right, so at this point, we would discuss that motion, right?
Yeah,
Yes,
Jen
Council.
you wanted me to repeat it? Oh, I didn't write anything down. Sorry.
Perhaps you, the board clerk is trying to restate the motion
Yeah.
for the board president, so perhaps you could restate it.
Yeah. So I move that we accept the Raftellus bid with the addition of up to $20,000 additional that staff will negotiate with them for additional in-person meetings and additional hours, and in an amount not to exceed $103,777.
And I'll second that
Okay.
for the record.
Council, I would question, do we have the legal authority to do that once we've done a RFP and a bid, to go back and renegotiate? I mean, if we do that, we'll negotiate with any of them.
New RFP, I think.
Yeah, I think you're sort of obligated to go that route.
So if I understood correctly, Director Day is essentially, has moved
To accept.
what is effectively a substitute motion to take option 2 and award a contract to Raftellus based upon their overall proposed cost multiplied by, I'm sorry, I forgot the percentage, 10% or something like that? Essentially, accept their proposed bid with a board-directed additional not-to-exceed amount. That would not constitute a renegotiation, and the board does have the authority to award that contract. The proposals, all three, are good for up to 90 days. So the board can award a contract to any of these proposed consultants.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, and I think Rick Ranzini.
Yeah, and for the record, I mean, just for the record, we realize that we have to share our costs with ratepayers on this. The important feature here is, and I recognize this even better by Director Day's statement, is to have somebody who's does not know the system basically is a better perspective. And by us requesting them, they need to be here and make sure that they're going to be a part of this, not just a Zoom meeting.
And that
That's
was
what-
part of my motion as
And,
well.
yeah, okay?
Okay, Director Dwyer.
I guess it's more a question for you, Brian. I'm not quite clear on our responsibility or process on it. If we put out an RFP and we receive these bids, wouldn't NBS be in a position to protest if we went and said, oh, we see the bids, I'll say, not compromised, but shared the NPS proposal with everybody in the world, and now to come back and say, oh, we don't like you, we're gonna renegotiate with the second, or with the lowest bidder to see if we can help shore them up to be equal to your level of effort. It doesn't feel right.
To answer your question about the bid protest, this is a little bit, we're proposing a professional services contract, which is a little bit different than a construction contract where we have to follow different requirements of the public contracting code, specifically that refer to bid protests. In this particular case, there are no public contract code provisions that govern the bid protest. There are provisions of our request for proposal that identify an opportunity for a consultant to protest. That time has passed, so technically, our NBS, if the board were to award a contract to Raftellus, there would be no protest period for NBS to be able to do that. That time has run.
Yes, Director Day, and then I'll make a comment.
And the flip side of the coin, I don't think anybody would have the ability to protest, but Raftellus would certainly have a right to object that they were the low bidder, and we're bypassing them for someone who has inside experience, who maybe, it doesn't feel right, maybe inflated their bid knowing they had a higher chance of getting the bid. So, I mean, it can go both ways. Right now, my proposal is still the low bid.
I understand, with all due respect to my colleagues up here, I think sometimes you get what you pay for. I think EID has a complicated system. You talk to people outside of El Dorado County, and there's very many folks that are unsure about doing business with EID or the county because of some of our complexities. I feel a lot more comfortable with somebody that has already been there once. Understand it's been 13 years ago or so obviously things change. And I think that you look at their resume and the number of agencies that they work through, they're obviously pretty top-notch and professional. So I just worry about, and I've seen many examples of going with low bid, and then you pay, you get what you pay for. So, I mean, I want to make this, but now we've got a competing motion, which would go first on the vote.
That's correct.
Is there any further questions or comments? Jim, you want to?
Just two items. One is, I was informed that we are using Raftellus on something completely different. It's our Hanson upgrade, software upgrade. So I stand corrected on,
We do have some familiarity.
but on
that.
a whole different side of their business.
And they
And
have
so-
done other cost of service studies for other agencies.
Right, that was part of their proposal. The only thing I'd, not caution the board, but have the board be aware of, I am nervous with underestimating hours and then bringing change orders back to the board.
I am too.
So, but that's the board's decision on which way we go.
All right, with that, Madam Clerk, would you call for the vote on the second motion? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, we need public comment.
This is a time for any public comment on both motions for action item number 6. If members of the public would like to address the board, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. And I just have a quick question before I repeat the motion. So, are you asking us to award the contract to Raftellus? Or are you saying negotiate with them? Because what if they don't accept the terms?
No, to award the contract. Yeah. Well, I mean, if they don't want to accept the additional, I think they probably would be interested in the additional $20,000.
Okay, so we don't need to caveat anything, because if they don't, because part of your motion is to negotiate with them. If they don't accept the negotiation in person,
Well, it's based off of that, so I would presume if they reject that, then we would go to the second highest bidder.
so I just want to make sure that it's clear. Are we awarding the contract and then negotiating, or is that part of the award?
I'm going to try and maybe interpret a little bit what I think is Director Day's intent, and Director Day, you can correct me. I think the idea is to award the contract to Raftellus based on their proposal at a cost of whatever it was. But authorize an additional amount, I think you said 20,000, to accommodate additional hours at the rates that they've specified in their proposal, if those are necessary.
To encourage, correct, to encourage in-person meetings and allow for additional hours as needed. They may not need them.
So is it encouraging or
Just,
Requiring.
it might be helpful to inform the board that the RFP directed proposers to submit proposals with either in-person or Zoom meetings per their discretion. Either of those methods were identified in the RFP as acceptable to the district. And the Raftellus proposal specified that it was proposing its costs based on Zoom meetings for the most part. I think they had one in-person public hearing, but that they were available for additional in-person meetings at an additional cost. So
Which
I
we're
think it's
budgeting
important
for.
to disclose that.
Right.
Okay, we'll first take up the substitute motion.
Public comment.
Oh, I
Sorry.
already called for public comment, didn't I?
Yeah, but was there any?
No,
Okay, there.
let me double check.
We didn't get to know.
This is the last call for action item number 6. All the motions on the table for any public comment. And for the record, it does not appear there are any members of the public participating. It appears only to be staff because everybody has a name up here. Actually, maybe one additional. No, does not appear we have any members of the public wishing to speak. Sorry, a couple people came on. I just want to make sure they weren't raising their hand.
Okay, so call for the vote on the second motion.
On the substitute motion for action item number 6, moved by Director Day and seconded by Director Anzini. Director Anzini, Division 4 and 5, voting aye. Division 2 and 3, voting no. Motion fails.
Okay, yes, we would now proceed to the original motion. Yep.
The second motion,
Yeah, yes, yes, no, that's fine. I was gonna ask if there was any further comment or anything from staff.
Yeah, I'm still kind of concerned about us handing this over to NBS based on the cost, but we have to do it. I agree that we have to do this, a thorough research, but my biggest concern is on the rate structure that we have is so complex and convoluted. I mean, I hear from real estate people who want to build on houses, how expensive it is to put a house in and the cost analysis or whatever. And it seems to me that that NBS really helped establish this rate structure, which is complicated. And I'd really like to see a more amiable type of rate structure that people can understand, especially if people are developing on properties, and the rate structure for the different types of residences we have. And if MBS helped establish this one, it may not give us the fresh eyes we need. So my biggest concern, one, yes, we have to do it, I agree. Two, if we could, depending on whatever this vote is, but I'm going to be voting no on this based on the fact that I think we need better information or a new face or new eyes. So that's my statement.
Director Breyer, anything? So being new to the board and rate structure, is that something that would be set through a process like this as far as the structure? Or they're giving us all the information and then we do the rates? This is a rate proposal, not a restructure of, and I don't know, but that's how I see it.
Let me try this on. Director Anzini mentioned two things. One, rates for our customers that pay through the meters, and then FCC charges for new development. The FCC charges for new development will be brought to the board, hopefully this summer or fall, so that will be a separate issue. The rates we have today are kind of industry standard because a lot of them are based on meter sizes. So the smaller the meter, the less you pay, the larger the meter, the more you pay. And then you had tiered rates. The board approved tiered rates so that there was encouraging conservation, tier 1, 2, and 3. On the wastewater side, we have 5 different strength levels, I think it's 5, so that the low strength user, like a home, versus a commercial, industrial type property, you have different rate designs for that. If the board wants to give staff the direction to attempt to simplify them, we can to the best of our ability, but we also want to make sure the customers that are having the larger meters are paying more, and the customers that are having smaller ones pay less. And the tiered rates are set so the low water users are paying a little less than the high water users, again, to encourage conservation.
Gotcha. Director Day, please.
Yeah, it's not that we're not dealing with the FCCs in this, we'll get to that later. But to answer your question, Brian, Mr. Klumpner was intimately involved in working with management in developing this entire rate structure. And it's in the AIS that he was an intimate part of it. And to Lori's point, that maybe is not a good thing because it's his baby. So hopefully that answers. And I started getting involved in following this in 2010 when all this was going on.
But I wouldn't be surprised if Raffatellis has a very similar rate structure because they've done these type of rate structures for most utilities.
But that's what would be good to find out, to learn going through a process with a new
Okay.
consultant.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe I'm simple too. I just see it as two separate things, and I think this board, at least who was on it, approved what we've currently have, and if we need to change that, then that needs to be a separate item, and that concern should be there, not expect it to come out of this. You certainly could use it as a guiding tool, but I don't see that as this item. This item is what we put out to bid, consistent with what we've done in the last 4 or 5 or 6 months as we've built up to this point. So with that, I will call for the vote on the.
Actually, this would be prior to us calling for the vote on action item number 6, we have had a member of the public join since we voted on the substitute motion. So I'm just asking, if you don't mind terribly, if we call for public comment
Yes.
once again and allow any members of the public or the one member that has joined, if he would like to comment. So this is for public comment on action item number 6, vote on the main motion, which is option 1, moved by Director Dwyer and seconded by Director Veerkamp, and we're voting on the award of the COSA contract. And since it's a public meeting, I'll just say, Mr. Prada, would you like to make a comment? Because once we take the vote, this item will be closed. So let's just give him a second, because I know last time, he hung up. Well, last time he had trouble, so just let me
Okay.
say, if you're calling through your phone, you press *9, and that'll raise your hand. Or if you're participating on the computer, just hover your cursor down at the bottom of the screen and click that raise hand button. It'll notify us on this side, and then will allow you the opportunity to speak. I think last time, I know we're like belaboring this, but last time he couldn't talk on his computer, so he had to hang up and call in. So we'll just talk amongst ourselves just for a second to
And
give
for-
him.
For the record, I did receive an email from.
Right.
Okay,
I
and
think we know his opinion based on
for,
the email we all
for,
got.
we'll just wait,
Okay.
because last time he did have, yeah, we,
And just so that the record is clear on this, Mr. Prada communicated directly with the board. Nothing was sent from district staff to the board that was not otherwise made available to the public.
and for the record, one of the board members did not receive the email because the address was misspelled. So, oh, he's back. Okay. So if you'd like to speak, just hover to the bottom of the screen and click that raise your hand button. If you hold your cursor at the bottom of the Zoom, it'll raise your hand. And then I can allow you to talk on this side. And since you just came back, the board did acknowledge that they received your email. So all the board members received your email. And that's the best I could do. It does not appear that he wants to talk. He just wants to be present for the vote, I imagine. So do we feel comfortable moving on, that we gave him ample opportunity to talk?
Yes.
And we acknowledged his email. Okay, so, sorry, once again, this is the vote for action item number 6 on the main motion. Option 1, moved by Director Dwyer and seconded by Director Veerkamp. We're ready for the vote. Division 2 and 3, voting aye. Division 4 and 5, voting no. Motion fails. So we can take a motion to agendize this.
I'd like to make an alternative motion, if I may.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah, I'd like to move,
Wait, Director Veerkamp?
go ahead.
Yes, go ahead. Yes, yes, please, Director Day.
Oh, no. Actually, I changed my mind.
Are you sure? See, now are you happy that I gave that little delay?
So we re-agendize for the March.
You're making a motion to,
Yes.
Right, I'll make a motion that we re-agendize this when we have a full board.
so,
Well, let's,
Maybe things will change.
I'll second that.
If I could just suggest that you specify a date, since that will give staff the direction they need. So for example, motion to postpone until March 13th or something like that.
Motion to postpone to March 13th board meeting.
amend your second.
Mr. Dwyer.
Director Dwyer?
You amend your second too.
I'm sorry.
We put a date, we put a
was reading
date, no, we put a date on it.
Okay, yes, I'll second.
Okay.
And that I know of, Director Osborne is planning on attending March 13th, and I'm assuming that all of you are attending March 13th, including Director Veerkamp, even though it's his birthday.
Cat's out.
Oops, sorry.
Yes, he will be here. 39, that's right.
Okay, so I believe since this is an additional motion,
Public comment.
any public comment for action item number 6? Option 2, take other action as directed by the board and postpone this item to the March 13th board meeting, moved by Director Anzini and seconded by Director Dwyer. Does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to speak. I believe we're ready for the vote. President Veerkamp.
All right, yes, please call for the vote.
Divisions 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye. Motion carries.
All right, very good. Since I see Tracy in the audience, we'll go ahead with item 7, if you don't mind, or you want to go back?
Okay,
I was just say we get the action items out of the way
Okay,
while we're
okay.
still here. And Alan can run easy. Good morning, Tracy.
Good morning, and it's good to be back. This,
Gotta give me a minute. Yeah.
Water treatment.
good morning. This agenda item is for the purchase of equipment to repair and rehabilitate 2 filters at the El Dorado Hills wastewater treatment plant. The project was approved as part of the 23 through 27 capital improvement plan, subject to available funding. The related issues to this agenda item are that 2 of 6 tertiary filter under drains have failed at the El Dorado Hills wastewater treatment plant. And we are now in a situation where the plant is compromised to meet discharge standards and possibly not be able to meet recycled water demands in the summer. So with a 7-month lead time on equipment to repair these under drains, we're requesting that the board authorize purchasing the filter equipment now for a construction contract that will be let in the summer, just to get ahead of the game a little bit. This is an overview of the El Dorado Hills wastewater treatment plant, and the filter complex is shown in that red box there. Yep, next one. This is a top view of one of the filters, just to get you oriented a little bit. So if we can go to the next. And we currently operate 6 tertiary filters at the plant, and these are the filters are the last step in the treatment process prior to discharge to either the recycled water system in the summer or to Carson Creek in the winter. Filters 1 through 4 were installed in the 1990s with half-pipe under drains, and that may not mean a lot to you, but I have a picture that'll explain it a little bit. Filters, and they've been operating reliably for over 25 years. Filters 5 and 6 were installed in 2007 with multi-block under drains, and again, I'll have a picture for you in a sec. The filters 5 and 6 under drain systems have both failed in the last 14 months, so we're down by 1/3 of our capacity at this point, with no redundancy if another filter fails. This, again, just to get you oriented, this is an end view of filters 5 and 6, so they're long rectangular tanks. And the next slide will show you what's inside these tanks. So we have a clarifier end of the filter on the left side, filter end of the filter section on the right-hand side of this picture. The water enters from the left, comes up through the clarifier media into that trough at the top, and then it overflows, or the water runs down that trough into the filter end on the right side, and the water overflows onto the filter media. And there's a couple layers of different material there: anthracite, silica sand, garnet. And then we get to the underdrain system where the water is collected. On top, that little inset picture, on top of those blocks, excuse me, there are stainless steel plates that are fastened with threaded screws. And as you can imagine, threaded screws, metal screws, will back out or strip out plastic over time. And we do have a situation where we have downward pressure during when we're in the filtration mode, and upward pressure in a backwash mode. So just that flexing constantly is just stripped out the plastic on this design. And then the next slide shows the perforated pipe, and this is the underdrain system that is in filters 1 through 4. And this is what we would like to return to for filters 5 and 6. So we have the same arrangement, the water flowing through the media onto the pipes that actually collect the water. So we don't have that situation with the plates that are flexing. So it's a much better system.
Question.
Yes.
Since filters 1 through 4 are significantly older
Yes.
than 5 and 6, how are they holding up?
They're in great shape. Tracy Crane is here. Yeah, our wastewater manager, and he can speak to that a little bit.
Good morning, Tracy Crane, wastewater manager. Director Dwyer, they are considerably older and they've, but we have taken care of them, changed the sand periodically and recoated them. There's a few that, or a couple that probably need some additional recoating in the future, but they are reliably operating.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, because I think Director Anzini and I went and put eyeballs on these filters with your education. So it's pretty clear, if I could use a pun, that they need to be, need to be replaced. So thank you.
So this picture is actually looking down on the filter media. So you're seeing the anthracite on the top and then the sand. And what has happened when those plates blow off, you get a short circuiting of the filter. And the filters are actually rated for so many gallons per minute per square foot. And now we have water concentrating in one spot, so we're exceeding the
It's not
capacity
filtering, yeah.
of the filter, exactly.
Director Anzini has a question.
Yeah. Perhaps, maybe it's one of those issues that I only recognize from another company I used to work for. Anyway, the recent storms, did that cause part of this problem? Because I know our filter plants always get overloaded.
Director Anzini. So we discovered one of them was, had failed prior to the recent storms. The second one, we can't say for sure. I can tell you that we worked them very hard through those storms. And as Tracy had said, the flow goes both directions. So running those filters at max capacity for several days certainly probably contributed to the failure, but I can't say for sure that it was, that the failure occurred
Okay.
due to the storm. But we
Right.
definitely worked them hard during that period.
And we may be in the future, next couple of years, have the same problems.
If we don't replace the under drains, we would definitely have the
Okay,
same
thank you.
problems.
Okay, and then just one more picture that.
Yep.
Jen's reading. I can't hear you. Oh, yes, sorry about that. So just one more picture here. This is just shows the plate that's blown off, the plastic blocks down at the bottom of the picture in the center. See that black rectangular area? Yep, that's it right there. Okay, and this is a close-up view of that failure. And you can see the screw holes there that, the screws have just stripped out that plastic. So we have consulted Trident, the manufacturer of the filter underdrain equipment, and a contractor that has experience with this kind of repair. And they both have said that this is going to be a very difficult thing to repair. So, and we have no guarantee of success. So we're just going to stay on that side, yeah. So with repair off the table, we have looked at a couple of alternatives for replacement. The first is to retrofit to a perforated pipe system with a custom design build, and this would involve hiring a contractor that would design their own underdrain system. The problem with that is that it wouldn't match filters 1 through 4. We'd be operating at different heads and flow rates, which makes operations more difficult, and we'd have no guarantee of long-term functionality or longevity beyond the 1-year warranty period. The second alternative, and the preferred alternative, is to replace the underdrain equipment with original manufacturer's equipment. Because of its excuse me, its proven design and reliability, it would be operational. It would operate consistent with filters 1 through 4. We'd have a material and process warranty, and a long-term manufacturer technical support. So, given the benefits of replacement, we are recommending purchase of original manufacturer's equipment, and we do have a quote from West Tech for $955,986, Unfortunately, there's a lead time of 7 months for this equipment, which wouldn't allow us to hire a contractor, have them order it, and then them install it. So we are recommending that we purchase that equipment now in order to be back in business before the next wet season. This purchase would take a single source procurement authorization by the board. Single source is allowed by board policy 3060 for good cause when there's only one source for the equipment. And West Tech is the only provider of this equipment. So the benefits to the district include, excuse me, equipment standardization, operational efficiency, proven longevity, long-term manufacturer support, and most importantly, Title 22 compliance, which is the regulation we have to meet for discharges and recycled water. As a side note, just some of the other work that's going to be done when we finally have a contractor on board this summer, we'll be refurbishing the entire tank, recoating, sandblasting, recoating. So the stuff inside the tank gets demolished, then we come back in and recoat and then install the new equipment. Environmental review, there is no California Environmental Quality Act documentation required at this time. Staff does anticipate that the equipment installation will be exempt from CEQA, and we'll have the appropriate CEQA documentation prepared before we come back to the board for consideration for a construction contract. So next steps, a design is underway, and we expect to bid the project in June of 2023. Come back to the board in July with a construction award and CEQA, demolition and tank recoating in August to be ready for equipment delivery in September, and construction completion by the end of November. Funding for this project was identified in the CIP for filter 5 in 2023 and filter 6 in 26. The failure happened a little earlier than we expected or planned for, so we'll be doing that now. And this funding request is limited to just the equipment purchase, and the source of funds is 100% wastewater FCCs, and additional funding requests will come back to you with construction. So the board options today: award a contract with West Tech in the not-to-exceed amount of $955,986 for the purchase of filter and clarifier equipment, and authorize additional funding of the same amount for the El Dorado Hills wastewater treatment plant filters 5 and 6 rehabilitation project. Option 2, take other action as directed by the board. Option 3, take no action. And our recommendation is option 1.
Thank you,
Any
Tracy. Question?
questions?
Yes, question by Director Anzini.
Well, I was moved for option 1.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
We have a second? All right.
with a comment. Obviously, filters 5 and 6 were awarded to a low bidder who is now, as I understand it, out of business, or the replacement parts are no longer available. It's kind of the story we hear frequently, that contractors come and go and their equipment designs change. So we're going back to the proven technology of filters 1 through 4. And the lesson is, the cheapest is not always the best. That, you know, in this case, and we've done that a lot of times on this board, under the guise of protecting the ratepayers, go to the cheapest contractor for the short term, which ends up costing us way more in the life cycle of the asset.
Director Day?
Yeah, well, I mean, again, this is contracting law, and we're required to take the low bidder that meets our requirements, and I don't know when this was done, but, and it sounded like we probably specified this new technology ourselves, because we thought it was the latest and greatest. So that came from staff. We accepted the low bidder because everybody was bidding on the same thing. So I don't think that it's the choice of, I agree with your comment about sometimes the new technology doesn't pan out, and it didn't in this case, but I don't think it has anything to do with the bid process. I just want to make sure we're just authorizing one $956,000, not two.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And it's good, it's been a while since we've seen you here. It's nice to see you back before the board.
It's very nice to be back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further question or discussion? Public input, please. Jen, any?
If members of the board would like to address the board on action item number 7, option 1, moved by Director Anzini and seconded by Director Dwyer, please refer to the detailed instructions on page 2 of today's agenda. President Veerkamp does not appear. There are any members of the public wishing to speak on action item number 7. I believe we're ready for the vote.
Okay, please vote.
Division 2, 3, 4, and 5, voting aye, motion carries.
All right, Madam Chair, I'm going to defer to Vice President Day, headed to DC to represent the district on a few items. And appreciate this morning's meeting to this point, but I've got a flight to catch.
All right, have a good, safe.
Have a safe and productive trip.
Hope so.
If anything, ever productive.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, hand me the gavel. I may not give it back. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I lose it at Kiwanis all the time. It costs me $100, so.
I'll give it to Jen. Well, this could be contentious. Do we want to move to item 5? Or do
No, we
wanna
will
do-
move back, we'll go back up to general manager's communications and then
Okay.
move back through that way.
All right, so communications. Jim?
Morning, I have 2 today. I'll do the first one, and our safety person's going to do the second one. First of all, we had an email from Rex and Kay Madison, who I've known over the years, always attend our cost of service meetings. They complimented Bill Cassidy, our water use efficiency technician, senior water use efficiency technician. And they wrote, "We just wanted to pay a big capitalized comment to Bill Cassidy. He was the most professional, polite, and very knowledgeable. Keep him, great employee." And it's just an example of Bill's customer service. The second one, Daniel Newsom's going to do the presentation regarding the Presidential Special Recognition Award.
Hello, thanks for having me again. Appreciate everyone that came to the barbecue in September. If you remember, we reached 365 days without a lost time injury at the district. Awesome feat. And we closed out 2022 without any lost time injuries at the district. Yeah, so, yeah. So as a reflection of that, I thought it would be great to talk about this Aqua JPIA award that we received as well. Each year at their fall conference, Aqua JPIA recognizes member agencies who have achieved certain milestones in their liability, property, and workers' compensation programs. According to JPIA's workers' compensation figures, the district achieved an experience modification rate of 0.60 for 2022/2023. The baseline experience modification rate is 1.0. So in layman terms, we're under what the average member is at a 1.0, which leads to cost savings and shows how fiscally responsible we are and the effort our employees are putting in. So as a result of achieving this milestone, the district, once again, for the 5th year in a row, received the President's Special Recognition Award. This special recognition is yet another positive indicator of the district's ongoing efforts to responsibly manage its operating costs, particularly with regard to workers' compensation premiums. This achievement would not have been possible without the constant vigilance of our employees and their embodiment of the district's 100% safety guiding principle as reflected in the district safety programs and safety committee. It's with immense pride the district accepted this award, and we look forward to another great and safe year in 2023.
Great job.
Jim, if I may, I want to compliment everybody at EID about safety. I'm a fanatic about that. And I know you are too, and I think a lot of this comes from you, so congratulations.
Thank you very much, but as like any business, it's a team effort. The managers reinforce it, the supervisors reinforce it, and the employees reinforce it, so it's a team effort, so, but thank you.
And just an add-on, it was really quite nice to see EID recognized at our fall conference. So, those who received the award did a great job, but congratulations again.
And that concludes my report.
Okay. Jennifer, clerk of the board, do you have any
None today.
board members? Yes.
Yes, just a little note from the Mountain County Water Regional Association. I am now your new treasurer, of course, for that organization, but I just want to highlight a date, June 21st to 23rd. All those who are members or adjacent or alternative members or association, Silicon Valley Tour is happening June 21st through the 23rd. It'll be interesting seeing all those urban waters districts.
All right. Great, thank you. Now we'll move to item number 5.
Actually, we have to approve the consent calendar.
Oh, God, I forgot, I thought we'd already done that. Okay, my apologies.
I move approval of the consent calendar.
Have a motion.
I'll second.
Do we have any public comment on the consent calendar?
If members of the public would like to address the board on the approval of today's consent calendar, moved by Director Anzini and seconded by Director Dwyer, please refer to page 2 of today's agenda for detailed instructions. Vice President Day, it does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to speak. I believe we're ready for the vote.
All right, please vote on today's consent calendar.
Division 2, 4, and 5, voting aye, motion carries.
All right. Now I think we're ready for item 5.
Yes, sir, we are.
Is there any board questions? Do I have a motion and a second? Item 5?
This is general warrant registers, the ratification of the general warrant registers
I'll
and
move.
expense reimbursement.
I'll move approval of the general warrant register,
Option 1.
option 1.
I'll second.
Do we have any public comment on option 1 or on item 5 in general?
If members of the public would like to address the board on action item number 5, option 1, moved by Director Anzini and seconded by Director Dwyer, please refer to page 2 of today's agenda for detailed instructions. Vice President Day, it does not appear there are any members of the public wishing to speak. I believe we're ready for the vote.
All right, please vote.
Division 2, 4, and 5, voting aye, motion carries.
All right, thank you. Review of assignments, I have a couple of requests. Do we have any others on?
Not that I have
So
for
I'd
this meeting.
like to request if staff can look into, I've gotten a couple of comments about the recording on the website that our audio can be hard to hear, hard to follow. So, and I don't know if it's because sometimes we speak too softly here, or if there's issues with the audio pickup and that sort of thing. But if maybe we could listen to them and try to figure out what the issue is, and then if there's anything we can do to mitigate. So, because we want it to make it easy for people to follow through the board and not be having to strain or miss things.
We can definitely look into that, but just for the record, as much as I have to review the videos, it is people not turning on their mic and leaning back into their chair and speaking, and also staff that may be quite tall or speaking softly or a little bit shorter, but for the most part, it's people like this.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a real problem picking up because you never have a problem hearing me, Jim, or.
Well,
So-
maybe we can do a short information item to encourage staff and board members to lean into the mic, to make sure it's on when they're speaking, and to try to project a little bit when speaking and making presentations.
And I try to control the volume up here as much as I can.
Okay.
Then you know, you have the problem with
Yeah.
having it at 100 and then someone else speaking and blowing everybody's ears out.
Right. Just
But-
maybe to help remind us all.
Yep, I'll make sure that we chat about that for sure.
The other request I had was, could we notify NBS and Raftellus of the results of today's board meeting and the motions that were made, just for their information, if they want to join us? Because I know Director Anzini was saying, and I concur with her, that it would do us good to learn more about both. And if they want to send a representative, it might be a good idea. So anyhow, that's a request.
We can do that, but I believe that they would speak during public comment. They would not be part of the presentation, or does that matter?
I think they'd be part of the, they can make their comments. I don't think that they need to share any of the PowerPoints, but they can make a comment
Right.
under that item.
Right. And, yeah. That's all I have. So do we have anything else? All right. Meeting adjourned at 10:07. See, I knew I was going to have to use it.